Welcome to a talk show, TV Talk. I'm Danzel. I'm joined here by my awesome crew, Danielle, Sean, and Ivan.
Hey everybody, let's dive into the powerful word of typhoon. How do they cause? How do they form actually? The damage they cause, and how we can make ourselves safe.
Typhoons are fascinating but also very dangerous, so stick with us as we begin.
And don't forget to stay tuned until the end. We'll be sharing some life-saving tips about these storms.
Alright, so let's start.
So, Sir Ivan, what exactly is a typhoon G?
A typhoon is a type of storm surge.
And what is a storm surge exactly?
A storm surge is an unusual rise of sea level above the normal tide.
So I guess you can mention that a typhoon is a type of storm surge. Are there any more types?
Yeah, a typhoon is only specific to the Northwest Pacific, by countries like China, Japan, Vietnam, Philippines, Hong Kong, and other nations that are located. You also got like hurricanes, which only found in the Eastern Pacific and Atlantic, and cyclones in the South Pacific and Indian Ocean.
So they're all basically just the same thing, the stable depending on where you are.
Exactly. Now let's get into how these typhoons actually form. You walk us through the process, Sean.
Alright, I will. So, the first thing you need is a warm ocean at least 26.5 degrees Celsius or higher. So it evaporates and leaves behind an area of low pressure called an RPA. And then the air from the surrounding areas called the high pressure areas or HPH rushes in to the low pressure area. Now that air might be cooler and dry at first, but it also heats up and picks up more water vapor via continuous evaporation.
All the warm air loaded with moisture rises higher in the atmosphere, where it's going to cool, and when it cools, the vapor is condensed into clouds. That turns into typhoon.
Oh, so when the wind takes up more speed, it becomes a tropical depression.
And if the conditions are right, a full-blown typhoon. But besides the warm water, what else is really important for these typhoons to form and get stronger?
There are a couple of key things that is evaporation, water cycles difference in air pressure. Let's dig into those. Tell me, meteorologists are always talking about low pressure. Why is this so important for seeing if the storm is going to develop?
They want barometer reading really closely, and a big drop in air pressure would mean that a big, strong storm is starting to form.
With more water entering the center of the storm, the difference in air pressure becomes more visible. A low pressure area pulls the air inward, creating a spiral that moves around the center, which becomes the eye of the storm. That's where they come. They are mostly clear skies and no rain.
And then all that air rises rapidly around the center, forming the eye wall, which is crazy because that's where you can find the strongest wind and the heaviest rain. Thank you, John. Now that we learned how typhoons are formed, could you tell me why the Philippines always sink in their path?
Alright, so the location of the Philippines makes it prime for typhoons. Our country is located in the ITCZ, or the Intertropical Convergence Zone, where winds from both the northern and the southern hemisphere converge. And on top of that, the Philippines is also in one of the most active typhoon belts in the Pacific, where a lot of typhoons occur.
So is it true that the Philippines always get hit by about 20 typhoons every year?
On average, yes. Mostly between the months of June and November. Oh, and that brings us to Pag-asa.
Pagas? Could you explain what that is?
Pag-asa stands for Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration. Oh, isn't that a mouthful?
So what do they do?
Pag-asa is the government agency responsible for everything weather-related, like forecasting, flood control, and even astronomical research. Pag-asa falls under the Department of Science and Technology, or DOST.
So Pag-asa is the official site for all this critical information.
Yes, they give updates every 6 hours on their website and even more frequently during a typhoon. So it's really important to go to Pag-asa directly.
Don't rely on rumors, especially during a crisis. Check the website and stay informed.
Now, they also monitor something called the Philippine Area of Responsibility. When a storm enters that, it just means that the storm has moved into a certain area of the Northwest Pacific that Pag-asa is responsible for.
So they're keeping an eye for it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it will gonna hit the Philippines, right?
Not necessarily. It could still be way offshore, so it's more like a heads up. It's a signal to start paying attention. Now what about their warning system?
So they use a multi-team system to let people know what's happening. In 2012, they added a color coding system for rainfall: yellow, orange, and red, to show how much rain is expected.
And we also have the TCWS, or the Tropical Cyclone Wind Signals, which are issued by Pag-asa themselves to areas in the Philippines that may be affected by tropical cyclones, cyclone winds, and their associated hazards, indicating the potential wind speeds and lead time. Each level corresponds to a range of wind speed expressed in kilometers per hour. As a storm approaches the area, the warning signal can be upgraded or downgraded depending on the intensity of the storm. Thanks, Ivan. Now can we have Sean and Dan to explain how some things can affect how strong a typhoon gets and how it develops?
There are many factors that influence the strength and direction of the development of a typhoon.
Like landforms and bodies of water.
Yes, let's start with the landforms. The study of formation and topography of mountains and hills is called orography. Orography is lifting, is what happens when air flow over mountains and it has the rise to go over it.
As the air goes up and expands and cools, the cooling makes vapor condense from the clouds and eventually the rain over the snow.
And that's what exactly orography precipitation.
Exactly, and that's why the side of the mountain facing the wind,
The windward side.
it's so much wind. The mountains are pushing the air up, cooling it and squeezing the moisture out.
Oh, so what about the leeward side?
The side facing away from the sea. So after all the rain on the windward side, the air that goes down from the other side is really dry. As it goes down, it also warms up.
Then it can really form clouds or make rain.
Yes, see? So you get a dry area on the leeward side called the rain shadow. That's why it will be safer on the leeward side because they don't get hit as hard as by typhoons since the mountain block the storms.
What about the bodies of the water? What is their role?
Warmer water gives typhoons the heat and moisture they need to form and get stronger, while cold water does not, does the opposite. It prevents typhoons from forming.
Climate change must be a factor in this, right?
It is. Warmer oceans and climate change can lead to more intense typhoons.
Thank you, Sean. Now that we've discussed the typhoon and how our country is constantly hit by it, Danielle, could you explain what we need to know about disaster preparedness? Come take a seat over here.
I have a list right here of things to have ready in case of a typhoon.
Like what?
So we should have emergency numbers, extra cash, prepaid phone cards, and a portable charger ready in case the power goes out.
We should also prepare some drinking water, food, supplies, and any other medications that you need, especially for the elderly, children, and people with needs.
That's right. You should also bring along some dry clothes, a blanket, and a raincoat.
Yes, all that we have mentioned are the basics, but we also should create a culture of preparedness.
Right, so how do we do that?
It starts with talking to your family, understanding what kinds of disaster could happen where you live. Everyone needs to be informed of calls. You should assign who's responsible for the stuff, like turning the gas and electricity off before the storm hits.
Alright. Not only that, but you should also check your house regularly for any leaks, clogged drains, or anything that needs fixing.
If you have a car, keep the gas tank at least half full in case you need it to evacuate. You should always know how to get on higher ground with foot.
Well, that's a wrap for today's talk show about typhoons.
Thank you everyone for watching our talk show. I hope we see you again. Goodbye everyone.
Why did the typhoon break up with the cyclone?
Why?
Because it fell under pressure.
Wow, that's so funny, that's so funny. Not my turn, not my turn.
Umutot ako.
What is the typhoon's favorite type of party? A blowout!
Matcha.
Ano?
Why did the typhoon bring out the land to the beach?
Why?
Because it takes the storm to another level.
That's so funny.